Good evening, folks. This is the Endless Celts. It's Friday night. Yous are the viewers, and we are all Glasgow Celtic. How we doing? We're joined by John and Anthony. How you doing, boys?
Good, mate. Good. All good.
All good, mate. Good. It's good to be back on. We had a wee fortnight's break for the show, but I can't wait to get back on. Celtic are in fine form. Like you say, it's Friday night, and I'm on a cup of tea in my Celtic mug, so
a wee cup
it's
of
all
tea,
good
son.
in the hood.
I'm on a wee Prosecco with some wonky berries in it.
Oh, that looks tremendous.
Prosecco with berries in it.
Wee bit of berries, kid. You can't beat it. It just sweetens it up a wee bit, eh? As if I'm not sweet enough. But anyway, we'll get into it. I noticed one of the first comments there was for Big Monty Boy, my pal, telling me I've not got intelligent conversation. We know it's a laugh. What's this? Then if I can tell me here he comes. Right, come on. Go easy, Monty. Big man's nervous here.
We'll let him at the asylum for the night, Monty.
Right, before we get started, I'll just obviously give everybody a reminder of the Super 6 that's on the screen there. League code is CF5VDD. I think there's 21 in it at the minute. If anybody doesn't know about it yet, you just go into the app or download the app and create an account if you haven't got it, and just join the league. It's just a bit of fun. I think Franny's leading it now. Enough said about that, but there's plenty of time to get the elephant off the top of the table. Nobody knows how the elephant got there, but it'll not stay there for long. But so again, if you want to join that, it's a bit of fun. Good laugh, and we'll have a bit of camaraderie and just update it after on the pod after each weekend. But get involved. So getting right into it.
Just to add to that, Ross, sorry, we'll try and sort
go.
Encourage people to get involved and actually try. We'll try and sort a wee prize for the winner.
I think we'll
massive,
but no, we'll sort something out like I don't know, a 50-inch telly or something. But we'll get something sorted on that. But so getting into it, I'll just sort of do a brief overview of the Kilmarnock game again. Obviously, used to weren't on Monday, so it just gives you a chance to give your thoughts on the game. I'll come to you first, John, co-host there, the man that's dealing with the comments tonight. What was your thoughts on just the game overall last Sunday? Obviously, with 5 different goal scorers, so go for it, man.
Good to see Jens scoring his second goal in as many games. Again, Kyogo, Giacomakis, 2 overhead kicks in the one game. Starfelt as well, getting his first goal. Only took him a year. But listen, it just, I mean, everything's pointing in the right direction at the minute. It's like, and again, it just shows you we've got goals out of this team. And that's bound to be surely a worry for everybody that comes up against us. And then as we showed as well, I think a lot of us were concerned that the surface we were playing on might play a factor, because nobody at this level likes playing on an artificial surface. It looks like shit, it feels like shit, it's just shit, plain and simple. And but we controlled the game, we dominated, we scored the goals. So I thought it was a fantastic result. And again, I think we're going to do that quite a lot this season. I think a lot of teams are going to be at the hands of a gubbin.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that you?
That's me finished. Yes.
That was a very abrupt finish. But I mean, in terms of a gubbin, I think it'll not be the first, it'll not be the last time we do that to a team this season. I've heard a few folks saying that possibility we could maybe hit double figures in a game if it all clicks into place in the one game. But what do you think of that, Anthony? Do you think that's possible? And just an overview of the game itself?
Well, I actually put it in the live chat on Monday night that it wouldn't surprise me if it actually did happen. To be honest, Ross, just in the forum that we're in now, obviously it's a long shot of it actually happening, but just the way we are playing now, certainly these high scoring encounters, I think, are more than they could become a bit of a regularity, like similar as what they were under Martin O'Neill in those early years. We used to regularly put 5 and 6 past the opposition. As for Sunday, boys are absolutely bang on. It was a joy to watch on an awful pitch, a ground that, you know, we're old enough to remember that it was never a ground that we were ever particularly, we didn't always shine at Rugby Park. It, you know, many memories there's dropping points down there, sometimes really important ones. But they were absolutely brilliant, absolutely blew Kilmarnock off the pitch. And like you say, 5 goals, 4 of them right out the top drawer, and the other one just a wee bit of instinct for Starfelt. Second time asking, like you say, that's him off the mark finally after a year. But it was great to see him back. And of course, not forgetting, most importantly, that man of the match performance from Gregory, who is just stepping up in levels every time. Can't say highly enough about the guy at the minute. Adore him.
He's been excellent so far at the start of the season. I think we've touched on him quite a bit this season, but I wanted to sort of come to O'Reilly and Turnbull. Now, I'm no having a go at them at all, by the way. I'm no trying to be negative anyway. Just a wee discussion point. I thought they were probably a bit quieter. They went a bit unnoticed, but nonetheless, they were still effective in the game. I thought they played okay, but would you agree, Anthony? They sort of were a bit quieter and certainly O'Reilly, I think, in the last couple of games, possibly a bit quieter, still went about his business, but not quite to the levels that he was maybe shown in the pre-season.
Yeah, I think it's maybe, you know, similar to what happened with Maeda right at the start, in the opening 2 games where, you know, he maybe wasn't quite, you know, full steam ahead. You know, I think that the Matt has kind of tailed off just a little bit, but, you know, the standards he was setting in pre-season, I think he'll get back to them very quickly. Might even be as early as Sunday at home to Hearts. These, and I think that both the pitches that he's played on as well. I mean, Dingwall's notoriously really tight, but O'Reilly likes to kind of spread the play and kind of be quite expansive. And Turnbull, you know, it is all about, you know, just the rotation of the ball. Like you say, they've not played poorly by any standards. They just maybe haven't been hitting the heights, and obviously with the way that some of the other guys in the team are playing at the minute, you know, like you say, they almost look average compared to the likes of Jota at the moment. But yeah, and like you say, it's maybe just the way it's fell out the last couple of games. But sure, they'll be back to full form pretty soon. But just as I say, the way we're playing now, it's just scintillating, man. I mean, it's just you can't wait for the next game to come at the minute. We've had 2, you know, quite tough places to go in the last 2 games, Rugby Park and up at Dingwall, and we've came away with very comfortable wins on both occasions. So, you know, it's good getting those kind of fixtures out the road before the European, you know, adventures begin. But at this rate, we've got such a depth of squad now that, you know, and Ange is obviously going to rotate a lot. But I think similar, you know, we say it's kind of similar to down the way that Klopp has it at Anfield. Doesn't matter. The minute somebody else is brought in, they're ready to go because they have to be called upon at any moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm just seeing a comment there for Paul Dyatt. He's saying he's sort of agreeing they were both quiet and the surface didn't suit them. I tend to agree with that. That's maybe played a part as to why they were a bit quiet. And I mean, not by any stretch am I saying that they were the passengers or that on Sunday. What we saying? By the way, he's not wrong. But I mean, obviously Hatate has been out injured, right, John? So they two are playing alongside each other. I don't think they played alongside each other a great deal in the second half of last season. Obviously, because we had Rogic there, Beaton was coming in, etc. But do you think that possibly, like, do you think they maybe don't, like O'Reilly and Turnbull, maybe don't work as well together in that 3? I mean, personally, I'm not sure it is that, but do you think it could be that?
Possibly. I mean, they're 2 very, very similar players, I guess, in terms of the position that they play. I mean, you certainly, I think you lose a certain dynamic by playing both of them together because of how similar they can be. I do think, though, that if they played together often enough, they would develop a partnership, and it would develop quite well. And I don't think it's an inherent problem. I mean, obviously, when Hatate comes back, I suspect he's going to be first choice, and then it's going to be like O'Reilly, and then Turnbull will rotate more often than not, I suppose. But I think that what Paul says about the surface probably played a part in the performance overall. But again, that we never really looked like getting out of, we weren't really out of third gear, so to speak. And I mean, there was no need for them to absolutely play out their skin when we were that much in control. They done enough when they got their opportunities, and they played part of the team game overall. So I wouldn't look too much into it. I don't think it's going to be something we're going to see throughout the season often. I think it was just a matter of circumstance. But I mean, I wouldn't base it too much. I wouldn't have too much opinion rather on just the one sort of game with the performances together, aren't they, too?
Well, I mean, I'm sort of just. It sounds like I'm nitpicking. I'm not at all. We won 5-0. Do you know what I mean? But it's just it's a wee sort of thing that I kind of picked up during the game. And again, I want to stress, none of the two of them played badly. They just, like Anthony alluded to, they maybe just didn't stand out as much as like a Jota or even a Taylor in that game, if you take that game in isolation. But
I think... Sorry, I just wanted to add to what you said there. I think one of the things we need to take into consideration as well is, because we're playing so well at the minute, and we tend to see these guys all step up, and they're adding another level to their game each time we see them. That they've set such a high bar now that if they don't meet it or exceed it, people are going to be like, "Oh, they looked a bit off." Which I think is, especially for O'Reilly, I think this is going to be a breakout season for O'Reilly, and I think O'Reilly's going to be integral to any success that we have. And I think he's going to play a massive part, and I think Turnbull will do the same as well. I don't think he'll necessarily start every game, but he will play a part as well as everybody will. And I think that we've set such a high bar now that, like, I know you're saying it's not nitpicking, and absolutely not. Like, we still won 5-0, as you said, but I think that because the bar's this high, that even if they're here, you're still like, do you know what I mean?
Aye, I know. I totally get what you mean. But I mean, I think we sometimes forget that O'Reilly's, what is he, 21, maybe 22 now? That's not that old, really.
No.
So, like we alluded to, I know Abada's a wee bit younger again, but we sort of alluded to he's only 20-year-old or whatever. He's going to have peaks and troughs. Not that I'm saying O'Reilly's had a dip by any stretch, but obviously Ange was in his presser today. He's said that Hatate has been in training. He's batting fit. Anthony, for me, I think probably Hatate, without ruining your lineup later on in the pod, but I think probably for me Hatate will come back in on Sunday. Do you think he will? And if so, what one do you think he'll come in for? Do you think it'll be O'Reilly, or do you think it'll be Turnbull?
I think kind of fully fit Hatate would go straight back in. I don't know. It will depend on how heavy he's been training on it this week. I know Ange tends to bring somebody back from an injury from the subs bench. So I definitely think he'll feature. Without it, he'll absolutely feature at some point. I think in a full squad, a fully fit deck of cards to pick from, I think it would be Hatate, McGregor and O'Reilly at this point, which maybe sounds a bit harsh on Turnbull, but I just think that's just the nature of the beast. I think O'Reilly is obviously an Ange signing, and he's not done anything necessarily to merit being dropped. So, but I think, like you said, none of these guys I think are going to be, maybe apart from McGregor, are going to be like mainstays week in, week out constantly. There will be that chopping and changing, like you say. Probably to the point where if somebody isn't playing, like, it's not necessarily a surprise. Like at the moment, you look at the Abada's stats for last season, Abada's not starting at the minute, and nobody's surprised because you've got Jota and Maeda. Whereas it might get to the point in a couple of, if Abada keeps doing the business off the bench, if you then see Abada's name on the team sheet it's not because any of the other two guys in the wing have been playing poorly. It's just like you go, right, well, he's been coming on, he's been doing what he's needed to do, so he starts. It's just that I think rotation will be a lot more of a normality under Ange, especially in season 2.
Mm-hmm. What about yourself, John? What do you think in terms of if Hatate comes back in? What one do you think? I mean, for me, I would have to say probably O'Reilly as well. I think it's evident O'Reilly's been getting picked before Turnbull recently. But what's your thoughts on that?
I would say that once Hatate's back at full fitness and he's ready to start in the team again, it'll probably be Turnbull will be the one that's sacrificed, so to speak, in order to fit him back into the team. And as I said, because I feel that Hatate, or at least that midfield three at the minute would seem to be the first choice across the board would be Calmack, Hatate, O'Reilly. So I expect that that's probably going to be the case going forward. As Anthony said, though, and as I touched on earlier, I think that we're lucky that we're in a position where we've got a team filled with players who can come in and play various different positions, because it means that the team can rotate. And every single week, everybody on this pod, we try and guess what the starting lineup's going to be, and we're always wrong. And it just shows you that's the sort of level of depth that you're playing with, and it's very, very difficult to predict what Ange is thinking. And maybe, like you say, he might decide for a certain fixture, Turnbull is a better option. And like I say, as the comment, I can't remember who it was, sorry, that brought it up, but in the Champions League, it was read, like you say, David's ball retention is superior to Rio's, so that might be a factor in Ange deciding to start him ahead of Hatate in a Champions League fixture, for example. So I mean, I think generally, yes, Hatate will be the sort of the go-to guy in the beginning of games or to start. I don't think he'll start this Sunday. I think if we build up a comfortable enough lead, then he'll get a few minutes in his legs, like Starfelt did. But once he's fully fit, then I believe that he'll be starting.
Aye. Well, I actually think he probably is fully fit, because Ange said last week that he'd been training and he was probably ready to play, but he felt there was no point risking him on that surface. But he's been training all week. He's been training all week, so there's a good chance he might start. But again, it goes back to it. He's sort of alluded to it. Both of these there. At times, I look at it certainly domestically, and if you're not playing a European team or Rangers, I think it doesn't matter to me what lineup Ange puts out. I'm going to be super confident that they'll get the 3 points. It's when you go to that next level of team, and whether you like it or no, Rangers compared to others are that next level of team, and then European football again is another level. And I think it then gets to the point where you're saying to yourself, right, we need this guy. Like everybody was arguing for Giacomakis to play against Rangers rather than Kyogo. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. That's when it starts getting a real debate. But in terms of games like Kilmarnock and that, I think we can utilise the squad pretty well, and whoever you decide to play is going to have enough to get the 3 points. But aye, so I mean, I think it's fair to say we all agree that O'Reilly and Turnbull are still very good players and they've no went off the boil. But moving on, what, John?
I just absolutely agree.
Oh, aye. So I thought you were going to say something else there.
No.
Aye. So I'm just going to touch on the viewer takeover. Just a wee reminder. I'm sure most of the guys, I don't know how many are watching right now, but I'm sure most of the guys are all aware now that we're doing this viewer takeover, in which it will be the last Friday every 2 months. That's what we're running with it now. Depends on the amount of interest we get. We might make it every month. But again, if you want to get involved in that and come on the show and give your thoughts rather than in the comments, then just message any as direct. You can message the Endless Celts page, and we're not going to say no to you. As long as you're not a criminal, you'll be all good. But
and I just touching that as well. Daniel says so. Kaiser's the first stone, and that's the end of this month. And then Jed Thomas is coming on And then I think we've got, at the minute, that's everything concrete, but I know Alistair Jack is chomping at the bit to come on
Alistair's
as well.
wanting to come on,
So, Alistair, listen, invitation's open, mate. If you're definitely up for it, just drop me a message and we'll get it penciled in. And we'll get you on. So then we've got the first 3 already after the bat. So as I said, as long as the interest and all that is high, we might need to obviously bring it down, because at the minute we're doing it once every 2 months. But just get in touch if you're interested in coming on. But you didn't come on and be an absolute rocket, please.
And by the way,
any keep the language to us. You know what I mean?
What, like we do, like we do, like
certain terms will be frowned upon, shall we say?
Aye. Well, I mean,
don't want to get blacklisted.
Aye, no. So, I've nearly had this blacklisted a few times, but
well,
Anyway, so we'll move on. I want to sort of touch on Aaron Mooy. He came on Sunday. What's this?
Ryan, as far as I know, mate, it's indefinitely.
Aye, it's all the time.
As long as we've got guys ready to come on, then it will just continue to be a thing. It'll be a regular thing.
That's what I was going to say as well, by the way. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Monty's coming on, I'm on with the big man. Me and him are having a laugh. He's getting some good banter. But anyway, move on to the next. I'm a fun-loving criminal. See, here he goes. He's always got an answer, hasn't he? Right, moving on. Aaron Mooy. He came on Sunday. I thought the game was won. What are you screwing your face up at, John?
I'll get to that.
The game was won when he came on, right? Fair enough. But for me, I think he came on and done exactly what Ange wanted him to do. I think, I said it in the chat on Sunday, I think he recycles the ball constantly. He keeps it simple, 10-yard passes. And so far in the evidence of what I've seen, he looks more of an Ange player than I even imagined that he could have. I think I'm not saying that he's going to start the now, but I think in time he's been brought in to sort of do the McCarthy job. I think he's well out of the picture, and I think in time he might start stating a claim for a starting slot. What do you think on that, John?
Right, so
I'm not saying regularly, by the way, but
I don't know. I definitely, as it stands at the minute, based on the players we've got, it's not going to be he's not going to be a regular addition. Just on the Mooy thing, though, like you said, I know he came on, he done his job, he done what he needed to do. But there's just something about him. I'm no, like, that's why I was screwing my face up, because I want him to succeed. Obviously, I do. I had sort of trepidations about him coming in anyway. And we touched on that, and for me, it was a wee bit an uninspiring signing. But again, he's in the club now. He's wearing the jersey, and I want him to succeed. I want him to do well. I've just not seen anything for him yet in the appearances he's had that excites me, so to speak. I'm hoping it comes. It might come in the future. Once he's up to full fitness and everything else, and he's fully adjusted into the team. Because as with any new player that comes in, you're having to adjust to a new style. And we touched on this with Starfelt and everybody else as well. Last season, he'll get his chance to perform and improve and all that. And I'll sort of keep my judgment minimal, I guess, in terms of, I'm not going to slate the guy, but I'm just not seeing anything from him that makes me go, by the way, this guy could turn out to be an absolute player for us. I think he like you say, he's good to come on if you've got a lead and you're comfortable, and to see the game out, you can trust him enough to do something like that. But when it comes, if it's in crunch time and stuff like that, I don't see him being a guy that Ange, or I would personally at this point anyway, would turn to be somebody as a game changer.
Aye, I mean, that's fair enough. I don't look upon him as a game changer as such, purely because I think he's probably going to play any time he does come in. He's probably going to play the.
And by the way, Scott, can I just say as well, just in response to that, because this is another thing, man. Celtic fans are quick to jump on other Celtic fans' fucking backs, and I'm not saying, Scott, that's generally aimed at me, that comment, but I was the one speaking when you wrote it. But what I want to say is it's not a case of like what you're saying being fickle. We're all entitled to an opinion, right? And as I said, he's in a Celtic jersey, and I'm sure every one of us, no matter what your opinion of the guy is, you want him to perform, you want him to do well. Like anybody that comes to the club, you're no writing them off straight away, and all the rest of it. You want players to succeed, right? So, but listen, he hasn't played enough games, and like I say, he might come good, and that if he does, fantastic. I want that to happen, of course I do. But as it stands at the minute, he's not a game changer for me, and that's what I'm commenting on. And I just don't feel he's going to be a kind of impact player. He's not like that. He's the kind of guy you bring on to see games out, like like exactly like what we're doing with McCarthy, sort of tail end of last season as well. When you've got a comfortable lead, he's a guy you can bring on, rest some legs, and to see a game out. But he's not a guy that you're bringing on to change a game, is what I'm saying.
Right, well, I understand what you're saying there. And Mooy's never going to be a guy like a Jota, for instance, or an Abada. He's not going to get you the big goals, the big moments of class. But I think he'll go about his business quietly in the middle of the park. He'll play the 6 role. He'll keep the ball, what we need to do in that team. For me, I don't know what you think about this, Anthony. I'll give my thoughts and then see what you think. Domestically, right now at the moment, we're playing 1 game a week. I think you'll find that it'll be what we've said: Hatate, O'Reilly, probably McGregor, Turnbull might come in, Mooy will come off the bench. See when we get into the Champions League and we're playing away from home against whoever it may be, right? Whoever, we don't know who we're going to get. I would be inclined to, just purely because of how well he keeps the ball. It's nothing fancy. It's 10-yard passes, but he keeps it all the time. He keeps the ball moving all the time. Down the years, Celtic have lost a lot of goals away from home in the Champions League, by giving the ball away in silly areas. I think Aaron Mooy, the way he keeps the ball, I would be inclined to start him in the games, just to, not even to protect the back four, but a partnership, Jens and CCV and McGregor and Mooy is that base to build for the back and bring us out and relieve the pressure, and then get it to the guys who are game changers. I think that could work brilliantly. What do you think of that, Anthony?
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you say at the start of the topic, Ross, it's hard to, like you say, the game's won, and Jota himself isn't going to change a game coming off a bench when you're 5-0 up, because it is just all about seeing the game out at this point. But that's exactly the type of role I think he'll be. He might not be a game changer, he might well be a game keeper, if that kind of phrase makes sense. But it'll be a case of, if we're talking about one of the guys who's most lauded in our, recent history, I think the past 20 years, for doing the unspectacular stuff but doing it well, is one of our most favourite sons in Neil Lennon. Although there was obviously there was an element of support that didn't take to him and Lambert being in the same team either. But Aaron Mooy's not going to be doing Maradona goals in 86, dribbling past 6 or 7 players and scoring. But he might be the guy that prevents a creative player on the opposing team from doing it. And then getting the ball to your Jotas, your Maedas, your Hatates, your McGregors. And like you say, and we're always going to be dominating most 99% of games domestically. It's when you go into that stage in Europe where the whole sort of approach to a game changes. It's a totally different style of football, and I think you're bang on. And it's also why I think any talk of the likes of James Forrest being out the door is a nonsense as well, because I think with all the experience he brings, a game away from home in Europe, the ball does stick to James a wee bit more sometimes when he's out on the right. So the guys with that type of experience, I think that it'll be those sort of nights where they feature more. So yeah, I think it's early days. You can't make any sort of base any opinion off a couple of subs appearances. He's done what he's needed. He's done what he's been asked to do. He's done it okay, and but this is a player that Ange has made a big play for both last season and this, and like you say, he's not going to go down in history as a Lubo Moravcik player, but I think he will play a big part in what we hope will be a successful season.
Mm-hmm. And just coming back to you, John, I know obviously you've got your reservations and you're quite entitled to it, and I understand why, because we haven't seen a great deal of him. I'm only going off what I've seen in the Premier League and what I've seen so far, and I've made the assumption that he could maybe play the role that I've spoke about in Europe. But then, on the other hand, you look at it, and down the years we've waxed lyrical about Rogic and etc. And then we go into Europe, and even guys like Rogic is found wanting. So I understand your reservations, John, but in terms of that role that I've suggested, do you think he could? Do you think he could play that?
I'm hoping he can, because we're going to need somebody that can, absolutely. And like I says, I'm not writing the guy off by any means. I'm saying what I've seen up until now, he doesn't strike me as a kind of player that's going to be let's say we play him in Europe, right? Or like you alluded to, he starts even. Do I think he's got the sort of pace to sort of keep up when we're getting pressed? Because in the SPFL, absolutely, but in Europe, it's going to be a different animal altogether. Teams aren't going to sit back like the day when we play them here, and they're going to come at us. We're coming up against some of the best teams in the world, and they're not going to fear us in the slightest. And they're going to gun at us, and we're going to gun at them. And this is where we need to be relying on, especially our defensive guys. And Mooy is going to be trusted, if he's playing in that sort of role, he's going to be trusted to help the back four, as you alluded to. And I mean, is he going to have the legs on him to sort of maintain that for 90 minutes against Real Madrid, for example? I don't think. Listen, I want him to prove me wrong, please. I'd love it.
Aye.
And like he says, there was no fee, there was no outlay for him in that sense. So, I mean, it is very, very low risk. But you also have to look at the fact that, I mean, and I just want to touch on this, but you mentioned that it was you're basing an opinion on what you've seen him in the Premier League, which I get, I understand it. But that was a number of years ago, and he's since had almost career-ending injury that he's come back for. And I'm not saying that that's going to affect him, but players who have these injuries, it can be hit or miss. Sometimes you come back stronger, sometimes you don't. And like I say, he's coming into the sort of the latter end of his career, all right. And I don't know. I just think for me, Europe would be a big risk. I'd love him to be able to play that holding midfield role and to do it really, really well. Take the ball, sort of bring the game back, bring back the rest of the guys back into the game and get the ball forward and assist in that, absolutely. But I just, based on what I'm seeing, I can't see it happening.
I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, I'm making an assumption off of what I've seen. You're making an assumption off of what you've seen. Time will tell on Aaron Mooy, but
absolutely,
I think he's a different player. As much as I'm taking for what I've seen in the Premier League, I think he's going to play a different role in this Celtic team in terms he'll not be as far up the pitch as what he did play with Huddersfield. And I think, I don't know, I was going to say I think you'll maybe see a better player than he did. Maybe know that because he got goals in that and he done it in the Premier League. I just think I keep going back to his ball retention for me is made for us to play away from home in Europe, because I think we all know, I don't know if you agree with this, Anthony, I think we all know that we are going to have a go, home or away, whoever it may be. And let's get real. We might try and have a go, but that's not to say we'll be able to, because the quality teams we're going to come up against is going to be a different level. But I think if we do try and have a go, I think he's the perfect foil. You could push McGregor up. I think he's the perfect foil for guys like McGregor, Hatate, whoever it may be that gets picked in front of him. I don't know what my question is to you, Anthony, but just elaborate on that.
No, I think in terms of the European, what our sort of pre-match tactics is going to be, I think you're bang on, Ross. I think it was probably one of Rodgers' biggest problems is you know, like a lot of them says, oh, he's trying to do in Scotland what he's doing in Europe. I always seen it the complete opposite. I always seem to think that he was trying to be a bit more defensive, and the more you try and keep these teams at bay by playing part the bus football, those tactics only work every so often. You maybe look, you could argue we played part the bus football against Barcelona that night, and it just 99 times out of 100 we would have lost that night, but it was the emotion around the occasion, 125th birthday, the stars align, as a phrase you like to use sometimes regarding Brendan himself. But every so often you'll get a result like that. But more often than not, if we go into a game and try and keep the score, respectable, these teams will just run over the top of you. So why not, just be like that? You can't. The way we play them now, it's attack, attack, attack. So you can't go for that. Being taught that daily, that's how we play. This is how we always play. And then the Sunday after your latest win, all right, boys, it's PSG in 3 days' time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start training on how to play a defensive game. But it won't work. The outcome will just be just as bad, if not worse, as if you go, right, well, just go out and play what you play. I think players are more comfortable playing the way they're trained, more on a more consistent basis. So I'd be gutted personally if we went out, if we had went out with some kind of ultra defensive approach, even against the likes of a Liverpool or a Madrid or a Man City, because it's the way we are playing now, I think, is the best of what we can do. It's that all out attack, it's a flair, it's the Celtic way. So you're like, if the cameras are never going to be the light's never going to be brighter than when you play in the Champions League. So go out and say, like, this is how we play football. Might not get us out the group, might not, we might have to take a few, sore ones, but it's still like, but at least we go out and we did what we do. We're not going to be dictated to by anyone else how we approach the game. I would personally far rather do that than, have sit on the 18-yard line for 90 minutes and pray for a miracle. It's just probably just me, but that's just the way I like to approach a game.
I mean, I agree with you there. But I don't think, like, you hear people saying, "Oh, we have to try and sort of do what Rangers have been doing," and I understand, but the way Rangers set up in Europe, and it works, by the way, and they're not ultra defensive. They have a go at teams at home. Yep. But we've not got the players to play that way at the minute. We play with flair. We're, like you say, attack, attack, attack. It's the only way we know. Listen, hindsight, it might not be the right way to play, and we might get found out. We might get a wee fright. We might get a sore face. But I think at home we'll give a few teams a couple of sore faces as well. If we can take, I mean, we don't know who we're playing, but I don't know what you think about this, John, but it's difficult to say because you don't know who you're playing. But if we can maybe get 2 wins and a draw at home, even take a point away from home, it might give you third. It might be some miracle, give you second. But, I mean, I would take that at this stage and take third and go into the Europa League. What about yourself?
I think that's, if we're, like, I mean, you want us to perform to the absolute best of your ability, but I mean, qualifying for the group stages would absolute, like, that's what we all want to happen. That would be fantastic. Best case scenario is that's what happens. But if we're being realistic, like you said, third place would be a decent showing, and if you can gather some points across the way, then I would be happy with that. I mean, I don't think anybody. You might get some Celtic fans saying, "Oh, we should be looking to win every single game." Of course we should, but if we're realistic, that's not always going to happen, especially in the Champions League. I'll allude to the fact that you said about giving teams a go, and Anthony made a lot of good points as well. But we will score goals. We will score goals. I don't think anybody. I mean, like I said, we're not going to be playing against teams that play against us with 10 men behind the ball. That's not going to happen. Teams are going to be open. They're going to attack us, and if we find gaps, so a few guys have said as well, like, Maeda's a perfect sort of player to utilise, because if you can play a ball through to him and utilise his pace, then getting the ball in behind some of the guys, because it will be a lot more open. We could punish some teams, and I think listen, we're going to concede. We will concede goals, but we're going to score goals as well. So there's every possibility that we can pick up points in the group, regardless of who we get and regardless how tough it is. So I mean, I'm excited for it, man. Just being back in it is massive, and like I said, I want us to get a good showing. We might get scudded. We might even scud a team depending on who we get. Who knows? But it's just exciting. And like I said, I'm not want to throw all our eggs in one basket. League's still always priority number one. And if we can give ourselves a decent showing in the Champions League and then fall into the Europa, which I think definitely suits us better, then absolutely.
Aye, I mean, just when you're talking there, I had a wee thought. Like, we were at the early stage of our process, our build last season when we played in that Europa League group stage, and we got 9 points, right? And we conceded a hell of a lot of goals, but we scored a lot of goals, and we done okay in general. Obviously, we're a bit further on in the process this time, but it's a higher standard of team we're going to be playing. I think if we got 9 points again is realistic. Just going off because we're further in the build now, but we're playing a better quality team, if that makes sense. It could sort of marry what happened last season in a lesser tournament. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think 9 points could be realistic. What do you think, Anthony?
I think it's one of those ones. We could very easily get 9, and we could very easily get 0. Do you know what I mean? And the margins for error are so fine. I mean, we'll probably bring it up when I get round to the season. I know we're going to try and do some more Champions League rewinds as the season goes on. The season will be Lenny's final season in charge. The year after we qualified for the last 16, so it had been season 2012, 2013. We drew Ajax, AC Milan, and I'm trying to think who the other team. I think it was Barcelona again, wasn't it, that year? I think, if I remember correctly, all the teams in unison tweeted that it was the group of champions. You know, because that was the only first time that all 4 participants had won the European Cup before. And we finished that year that group with 3 points, but we probably played better in a lot of the games than what we did in the previous tour. But when we got 10, still the only side to ever a Scottish side to ever get 10 points in a Champions League group stage. But the margins were so thin. You know, we lost 2-1 to Barcelona. 1-0 to Barcelona at Celtic Park. But, you know, just before they scored, we hit the crossbar. We went toe-to-toe with Ajax, lost a magical goal, lost 1-0. And it's just those little fine marks. Even we outplayed AC Milan for most of the game in the San Siro. Didn't take our chances. They punished us with 2 late goals. So it's all about, it's so, it's so tight. But I think the way we should think it is, you know, the fans are going to be up for it. The play, you know, anyone that thinks that there's Ibrox is that, you know, the incredible noise and the unrivaled atmosphere, you know, they've had a wee fair bit of airplay the last 10 months, but, you know, just wait till the big team rolls into town, and we're going to show you exactly what a special European atmosphere sounds like. Can't wait. Liverpool, Madrid, Dortmund, we could get all 3, bring them on.
Aye. Listen, we went off on a wee tangent there. I didn't expect to talk about the Champions League.
Wouldn't it be like
and listen, we have the draw hasn't even been made, but that sort of whetted the appetite there a wee bit. And I can't actually. I'm buzzing for the draw next. What is it? Thursday? Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, I think,
absolutely buzzing for it. Really looking forward to it, and what will be. But moving on. I'm going to move on and give yous guys the floor here, because yous are the numbers men, the board men, the money men. I'm just going to give yous the floor and listen intently. John, I'm going to just let you speak about the Sky deal and see if I can learn a few things, because I'm very way out with what it's all about. I look at numbers sometimes, and if there's more than 5 lines, I'm just like, nah. So go for it, John. Talk about the Sky deal, and then once John said his piece, you can sort of counter him, Anthony, and or not so much counter him, but just give your thoughts.
No
I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
How long have we got? Listen. I think most of us as fans, when we seen the announcement of this Sky deal, we're kind of looking at it like, here we go again, and it's the SPFL and the incompetency, the guys at the round table, so to speak, and they're seriously undervaluing the game here. And it's not much better than the last deal we had either. If you actually look at it, I think that they try and you always see the media will print how much the deal is over, like if it's a 5-year deal, they'll put the big number up so that it looks like quite a lot of money. But when you break it down, it turns out it's absolutely shite. So what was it? I was reading that I have wrote a couple of things down here that I wanted to sort of touch on because I can't bring it all off the top of my head. But so as it stands at the minute, the new partnership, something between 29.5 to 30 million a season, and it's only for it's on the premise that it's for up to 60 games, but they only have an obligation to show 48, right? So right away, that's you're taking the game up here as a liberty because you're saying, well, this is how many games we can show, but we'll show it at least this amount. And
they should show the full quota, shouldn't they?
They should show the full quota, absolutely. So they said it would be up to 60 games a season, but an obligation to show 48. If you go on previous seasons, they've never met the total amount that they paid for. It's always been the bare minimum. And again, the last time they made a deal with the SPFL, it was sort of everybody was sort of crowing at it and saying you're undervaluing the league, and it's an absolute disgrace. So they've went, as I say, 42 is their obligation, but what they're doing is, and this is a sort of like a wee thing that that Sky are, and this is the one thing that this bothers me so fucking much.
Something bothers you?
Aye. So
I'm like,
Sky have turned around and told the SPFL that along with this deal, they will allow, right, and this is an agreement between Sky and the SPFL, they will allow the teams to broadcast their own matches, certain matches, as long as they're not shown on Sky. Any matches that aren't shown on Sky, they can show their matches on a pay-per-view basis, right? But these terms are being dictated by Sky, like, and the SPFL are just fucking bending over and taking it, and it's a ridiculous premise to set when you're letting the TV companies, and we know. I'll get to the figures in just a second with other and where we sit in comparison to other leagues. But we know that Sky take the absolute piss and they devalue the game up here. They're only really interested in, let's be honest, in Celtic and the Rangers. That's it. And if they could get away with it, they would just offer us money to show the derby games, and they would just take the piss. But obviously the SPFL, they're not that stupid. They're not going to accept something like that. But their gain is absolute bare bones here, and it's a fucking joke that it's even being considered and talked about. But
has it been agreed? Sorry, John. Has it been agreed yet, or is that just what's on the table?
I think that's what's been tabled, but there's no competing bids. Like BT Sport aren't tabling an offer, at least that we know of. There's nothing being reported about it. But other leagues have got Amazon Prime pay to show games across the board on their channel as well. Apple TV pay in excess of hundreds of millions to show games on theirs. The MLS is a prime example, right? Every single game in America, every single game, regardless of who it is in that top, is shown, and they receive something like $500 million. And you've got, let's use the English Premier League, right? As it's reported, is 1.6 billion. That's fucking 53 times more than what they're offering to show the minimum 42 games in Scotland. Yeah. And that's across. That's not just the Scottish Premier League. That's Scottish or at least in the terms of the deal what I've read, that includes Scottish Premiership and Championship. And then you've got Poland. I've wrote a list of these teams: Poland, Norway, Sweden, Italy's Serie B, Denmark, Belgium, Turkey, the English Championship, which is 4 times more than Scotland get.
And is
English
this
League
all
One
coming for Sky?
No. The other countries they've all got their own broadcasting rights. But what I'm saying is these are companies within that sort of area that are paying.
It's not, you can't really compare that though. If Sky, it's different companies, isn't it?
But what I'm saying is you've got Sky here, right? You've got BT Sport, you've got Premier Sports, you've got other companies that here, Amazon, Apple, that operate within the UK, that they offer teams in other leagues hundreds of millions. Sky pay through the nose again in Germany as well. But I'm just pointing out, like, we're behind all these. English League One, we're on par with English League One in terms of monetary value that they sort of what's distributed to them. Portugal, everywhere else, and every single one of them is above us. We're on par, I think, monetary wise, with the Romanian Premier League. I mean, if you're looking at in terms of its domestic product and everything else, and the teams that we've got, the sea of fishing, and where Scotland's ranked in the world, the fact that we're so undervalued in terms of TV money is absolutely ridiculous. And when you've got leagues like, I mean, you can understand you sort of England's sort of Spanish League 1 and 2, Germany top 2 divisions, Serie A, Serie B leagues, France's first and second division. They're on like 10 times more, significantly higher sums than we are. But what pisses me off is that the SPFL, just the first offer that comes in, I don't know what the negotiation process is like, so I can't really speak to that. But it seems like we're quite happy to just take whatever's fucking given to us because there doesn't seem to be an alternative. And so that then begs the question is, at what point does the SPFL then turn around and say, do you know what? You're undervaluing us. We need to start looking at alternatives. And I've got this whole, I could do an entire episode on this other model that's based on sort of similar to
you should.
I mean, it's based on a similar model to how America do things. Like I said, every single game in America, regardless of who it is in the top flight, is broadcast. Every single team gets a fair cut of the money and they get paid a decent amount. And that's just the TV rights. They've then got the opportunity to then sell their own pay-per-view rights as well. Like Celtic used to do with Celtic TV for overseas territories out with the UK. You remember if a game was shown on Sky here, if you never had access to Sky and you were in the UK, you could watch it. If you were abroad, you had access to Celtic TV, you could pay pay-per-view.
Still can.
But this is what I mean. It's like we need to sort of turn around and develop a model or sit. All the clubs within Scotland, first in the Championship even, need to sit down and talk to Sky, need to talk to the SPFL and work out an alternative. And I think that is just telling them, to get to fuck, and then start asking, like, or to start putting a hand out and then saying, like, well, we'll give you some matches, like the big games. But I mean, like I says, I could sit here for another 2 hours talking about that model. I'm not going to get into it right now, but
do you know,
something needs to change. And like I said, what they're taking the absolute piss.
See, I heard you saying there that there's no other alternatives. Do you not think that a bit like when English teams are coming in for our big players, and the low ball is? Do you not think maybe Sky are low? And by the way, I'm not totally clued up. Do you not think maybe Sky are lowballing us in terms of TV deal because they know there's no another alternative? What's going on with Tony there? Dana Tyson Fury.
It's as you can see, the wonders of technology, mate. Phone's just balancing precariously on a book. So I thought I was going to get away with it. As you say, we're absolutely full of professionalism here at Endless Celts.
No, listen, they absolutely are lowballing us at every opportunity. And this is where we need to start asking the question, like, where is BT Sport in this? Like, why are they not offering? But when was it? It was, I'm going back a wee while now, but remember when it was Setanta came in? And Setanta were like, they were the biggest offer that we had at the time, and we fucking bit the hand after them to get it. Like, I know they eventually folded or whatever, but what I'm saying is, you've got BT, you've got ITV, you've got BBC, you've got Amazon, you've got Apple, you've got fucking, there's other platforms, there's plenty of other platforms, but none of them seem to be interested. And Sky, because they're the only ones, like you mentioned, they're taking the absolute piss. And this is what I'm saying. We need to just tell Sky, we need to renegotiate the deal and start demanding more money, and have a plan B in place if they turn around and reject it, or just totally just tell them to get to fuck, and then just start going, we're going to work out a model where every team in Scotland benefits, top two divisions, and something that works for everybody.
But
and
it sort of poses
the other thing.
It sort of poses the question, though, going off of what you're saying, that all these like streaming sites and that, why are they no putting an offer on the table? I don't know. What's your thoughts on it, Anthony, and what I've just said there?
Well, the problem is, usually in tales like this, you have the person in the right and the person in the wrong. The problem is, when it comes to the SPFL and the TV broadcasters, both, and most of the clubs themselves, theirs included, it has to be said. The problem is they've all been guilty of not sort of promoting our game the way it should be. We went down the road of trying to do the Russian roulette 20 years ago when the SPL was first created. Sky gave the clubs, it was a pretty big TV deal by all means concerned. Obviously, the TV money in England was nowhere near quite as much as what it was now, so there was the comparison. Hence why Celtic were able to compete with the likes of Spurs or buy players for Chelsea and whatnot. Out with United, maybe the top four, Celtic and Rangers were able to compete. But the problem was, when it came around year 2000, 2001, to renegotiate that deal, Sky offered pretty much the same terms, and the SPL did exactly what John suggested. They were like, you're insulting Scottish football, take that deal off the table, which they duly did, and they gave all that money to the English Championship. Hence why you had this nonsense of SPL, we're going to do our own channel and we're going to do SPL TV, and you ended up having 10 clubs resigning for the league. The possibility of Celtic and Rangers playing each other every week was going to happen. We got landed with a makeshift BBC deal, which was nowhere near. It kept the show on the road, but it in no way was as financially beneficial as Sky, even though you could argue the BBC coverage was possibly better. We then had the issue where we went with the highest bidder, Setanta, in 2006 or 2005 or 2006, I think. Well lauded at the time, but the problem was all their promises were built on sand. To quote a phrase from our pal James Forrest, it was Sevconomics. Because they were promising all this money, but they didn't have the capital to give it. You then had the deals with ESPN, part deals with Sky. But the problem is, and I agree, BT Sports coverage is by far and away better than Sky's. But money makes the world go round, unfortunately. And the problem is, when it came to this last deal, the one that we're currently in, Sky outbid BT. And that's that. BT might look as though they want to promote the game better, and they do. I think it's a far better channel to watch. But when it push comes to shove to them actually bound for a bid, Sky outbid them, and this is where it gets frustrating. And what I mean by the fact that there's guilty parties in all of this, I include the clubs as well, because I think Frank Brennan was saying about Ross County, Dundee United. When the TV cameras roll into these stadiums, they're all dilapidated, they're half full. If you're lucky, they've got their training goals set up at the side of the pitch. I mean, it looks like an amateur production. And you're like, if the TV cam, you should be promoting your game best you can. But in terms of the actual TV deal itself, my first reaction was, what's the rush? I think there's still another 2 or 3 seasons left on this current deal to run, which is why I think, kind of in agreement with John, I think right now it would be madness to say, all right, okay, and agree to that deal, because is the terms the same? In real terms, it's actually a cut. They'll be potentially giving out more, but in terms of games, but in terms of inflation and whatever, the TV, it's a real terms cut to what they're actually offering just now. And I think the likes of Apple and Amazon, listen, I'm not a tech whiz kid. I don't know how it would all work, or even doing your own sort of TV deal yourselves. And especially, there might be Asian markets now with the way that we're, our signing policy, that could be something that's a possibility as well. So I think signing up to this, even if the TV deal was double what they were offering right now, there's still it's the equivalent of trying to rush to sign a player on a new contract when he's got 3 years left to run. I'm not quite understanding the insistence to renegotiate the terms now. The deal's not great. Sky are an awful broadcaster. I agree that any I keep saying it, any broadcaster that tries to tell you Chris Boyd is their chief analyst, that's a bad joke. That's not funny. It was never was. It's not the joke isn't funny anymore. It was never funny in the first place. And then they wonder why a lot of supporters go down the streaming service or Fire Stick avenue, because they're not paying to watch garbage or a garbage production. So it's the only deal on the table now, as John says, that I'm aware of. But I think it'd be madness to sign up to it just now, because we don't know what things are going to be like in 2 to 3 years' time. Might be better, might be worse, but this deal it's not a great deal we're in just now. So the fact that we might not get the same deal again, it doesn't really panic me in that respect. But everyone in Scotland, and that be from the governing bodies to the clubs themselves, ours included, may I add, and the broadcasters, all, if it was a school report card, I would be marking them all as must do better in terms of promoting Scottish football as a whole.
Well, I think he's both outlined your points excellently there. I've took a wee bit there for you, Anthony, and I actually didn't realise that we still had 3 years to run on.
It might not be as long as that, Ross, but I think it's not
like next week.
By the way, I think it's up to 24-25 season is the final one, as you mentioned, Anthony. And again, the point you made is spot on. Like I said, the new terms of the deal they're offering in terms of monetary value isn't much better than we're currently getting, and they're obligated. As I said, they're trying to push it as this better thing by saying we're going to do up to 60 games, but we're obliged to only do 42, which is what they've been doing for years, is showing the absolute bare minimum. If we accept the terms of this deal now, then we've tied ourselves into another fucking 5 year whatever it is contract with Sky, and we're getting absolute bare bones again, and it's no much better than the deal we're on currently, which is a problem. And when you see Sky year in year out are constantly chucking more and more money at England, more and more money at the Championship, like I says, we're getting on. League One in England is getting as much as we are. How many League One games do you see in the telly?
Not many, to be fair.
And I look, there's people in the comments as well who have made some valid points, and they're like, if you can move to a subscription model, which is kind of the basis of what I think we should be doing moving forward. I know, Anthony, you mentioned that was kind of touted maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but technology wasn't what it is now.
True.
Then.
That's very true.
If you look at I'll go back to the sort of America, because America, I've got it fucking sussed whether you accept it or no. Every single game in America's top flight is shown on TV. And I know their population that far exceeds ours, and you're talking about like we've not got the population to sustain it. There's other markets across Europe. There's Celtic fans all over Europe. There's Celtic fans all over the world. Australia. When you're tapping into markets like Japan, for example, when they don't have anything and they're having to find alternative means to watch Celtic when they might be an interest, there's certainly, or at least when you go to individual teams like Celtic, it's not got the same rule as they're going to apply to the likes of a Muir or a Livingston or anything like that. And that's where you're at a bit of a disadvantage, because you can't really promote the teams the same way. But something has to be done about it, because you can't continue to just accept low ball offers for Sky because they're the only deal on the table, because they'll continue to take advantage of that by gaining us nothing. And the SPFL need to be a wee bit more resolute and stand firm and say, well, look, why don't you need to up it, like do this, do that? But it doesn't seem like that's even the case. We're just doing absolutely hee-haw. I think I was reading an article, I can't mind who it was by, I need to try and find the link, but they were saying that in Scotland, in terms of TV revenue, there's an estimate that they could make essentially £500,000 a week in terms of TV revenue, and by doing a subscription model. I don't know the math behind it or how they've done it or what it is, but like that, even that, and that money split between clubs in the top flight is works out better long term than the Sky deal. I listen, Frank, again, man, fuck's sake. Listen, I know when you said earlier as well that you're like, I can't mind what the comment was, but I know I shook my head, I brought it up. I literally just said, I know America's population is by far greater than ours and they can sustain it, but they've got a business model in place that benefits all the teams there. I'm not saying we're going to make 500 million off it, but we can damn sure do better than 30 million if they put their heads together and they start collectively trying to think a way of doing it better. Because if Sky aren't going to offer you any better than 30 fucking million a season, I think you mentioned actually it was who's going to pay money to see St Johnstone play fucking Dundee United or whatever it is. Who's fuck's paying money in Romania to see Romania bottom division teams play? I can't even tell you the teams' names, but
Romanian guys.
But listen, we're so fucking far behind in terms of we've got a similar population to Norway. Theirs exceeds us by about 30 million. Sweden about another 15 million more than us. Denmark 10 million more than us, and it's like I know that we've not got the greatest of leagues, right? And I think that's the thing. But 30 million is taking the piss.
Listen, by the way, you two could talk about. Yeah,
I completely missed what you said there.
You said who's paying for it in Romania? I said Romanian guys.
Right.
But
you must have just asked about the Hearts game first.
Listen, you two could talk about this all night. I feel a spin-off coming on, Anthony and John, doing about the TV deal and all that kind of thing. I think it would work really good. I've enjoyed that chat. I've not put much into it because I'm, again, quite happy to admit I'm not as clued up as you guys. But we'll move on for that. I enjoyed listening to you, though. We'll move on to the transfer rumours. Obviously, there's been a wee bit of traction in the last couple of days of this. I'm going to give it a go. I'll do better than Stephen, hopefully. Haksabanovic. I think I've maybe got that.
That was tremendous.
I've been practicing that all night. Aye, so Haksabanovic, he's a left winger for Rubin Kazan. Anthony, I didn't know a lot about him. Do we need another winger? Ange seems to like them. And I know you've alluded to it already, but I'm just going to ask you again anyway. If he comes in, there's certain fans have said it could spell the end for James Forrest. Personally, I don't think so. For one, the guy's a left winger. James Forrest a right winger who can play in the left. This guy, by all accounts, is a utility player. He can maybe play through the middle as well, but I think he'll generally be played on the left if he does come in. But aye, do you think we need another winger, and do you think it spells the end for Forrest?
Not Forrest, no, absolutely not, mate. Just for the reasons outlined. In terms of to the untrained eye, I don't think it was necessarily an area we needed to strengthen in. But Ange has been quite consistent in his, sort of conferences and speeches, whatnot. That it is still an area that he's looking to strengthen. And I know we've spoke about do we maybe need another striker as backup for Kyogo and Giakoumakis? I don't know if he's maybe already at the club in that versatile role, like you say, because Maeda has played through the middle a few times at Celtic, and it was a masterstroke the day that he put him through the middle against Livingston. But obviously, Giakoumakis and Kyogo are going to command that spot most of the time. So how do you solve a problem like Ange? Well, it might just be you sort of give Maeda is still going to prominently feature a lot out in the wing, but it could be that third option that we look at up front, plus you're bringing in another winger, and so you're solving two problems in one.
Brilliant.
And we know there's not a Yetis. If anyone's gone, if there's anyone who you would look that it probably would finish, it would probably be Mikey Johnston, because like you say, James Forrest isn't in the first team at the moment. Mikey Johnson's even further down the pecking order. Brown Warrior just sort of saying the same thing there. So yeah, I would say that Mikey's days, sadly for him, are numbered. I know this Mami or whatever his name is, the other striker, Mooy, yeah. So that might well be the, if we are looking at an out-and-out third striker, that might be another option. But I just think if you're going to spend, and it sounds like it's a decent wee outlay for this guy if he comes in, that might be what Ange is thinking. He says, he almost promotes the wrong word, because he's going to feature a lot regardless whether whatever position he's on the pitch. But it might be that he classes Maeda as the third choice up front, and then there's more options on the wing for Haksabanovic.
I think you make a tremendous point there, by the way. I've never thought of it like that. And to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Maeda through the middle, but like you say, it's not going to happen all the time. And if we're talking like this guy's already signed, but I mean, if he does come in, he can play that role. I think it's an excellent point, Anthony. John, obviously, if this guy comes in, it's similar to like O'Reilly and Jens. He knows Starfelt for his time at Rubin Kazan. Is there a pattern developing there, or do you think that's just a coincidence?
I think it's coincidence at this point. Like I say, I'm happy to discuss transfer rumours and everything else, but I mean, I take a lot of that with a pinch of salt anyway.
I mean,
in terms of this guy, Haksabanovic, I don't know anything about him. I know he was touted as some sort of wonder kid when he went to West Ham. Didn't work out for him. He was meant to be the next big thing for Sweden. Ended up opting to play for Montenegro, I think. So, I mean, it remains to be seen. I don't know anything about him, so I can't say whether or not he's going to improve the team. But if it is a genuine link and sees something in him, and if he feels the need for us to bring in another winger, then I think it certainly spells the end for Mikey Johnson anyway, especially if he's predominantly left-sided. There's a good point made about needing a certain amount of homegrown talent for Champions League registration as well, which it certainly play a factor in who's staying and who's going. But I think that the fact that he's wanting to bring in another wide player who is a wee bit more versatile says a lot about some of the guys that we've got there. I don't think, even as it stands now, Forrest is quite far down the pecking order as well. And I mean, I know he's no longer signed a new deal in that, but listen, sometimes you just have to say, tell it how it is. I mean, you've got Jota, Maeda. If you're bringing in another player, you've got him. You've got Abada. It just isn't looking good for the guys. I'd imagine he's probably still going to keep him around anyway, like you say, because we need the names Scottish players for registration. But it remains to be seen. Like I say, I don't know anything about him other than what I've read and the good old YouTube clips that make him look like Messi. But
I don't even look at YouTube clips anymore. I just can't get arsed with it. It's just sorry.
By the way, I've seen a couple of them, and based on no clips, he actually looks like a cracking player. He seems like he likes to run at players. He's quick. He's good with the ball at his feet. He can hit a ball. He can strike a ball, no bother. But
it's just an Ange type, eh?
He seems to fit that mould, certainly. And like I mentioned that because I didn't realise they'd signed me that Spanish team. But Corrado, I was quite excited by because it's somebody I've actually seen play, and it's like I sort of knew who he was prior. And that kind of excited me, but that didn't happen. And then we're getting linked with this guy. So it remains to be seen. Anthony Joseph came out today and said, because there was a lot of tweets and all that flying about saying that he's in London for a medical, and Daily Record had picked up on it, and they were like, "Oh, he's going to be in for a medical in the next 24 hours." But then Anthony Joseph reported, no long before we came on actually, that isn't the case, and that we are one of 4 or 5 different clubs, and Rubin Kazan at this point haven't agreed nothing, and there's been no fees or nothing agreed or discussed. So,
I don't think it's as far. I don't think it's as far down the line as it was reported earlier today. But yeah. I mean, Anthony, you touched on the boy Mooy, whatever it is. again,
I thought it was Mooy.
Stephen Mahy.
But
God knows how you pronounce it, but he's a striker, could possibly come in. But again, I think if we were going to bring, I mean, it's only a rumour, like we say, you take it with a pinch of salt. But for purposes of debate, if we were to bring him in, I think Ajeti would have to go. I'll put this to both of you. I'll come to you first, Anthony. If we were to get in the next, 10 days to the window shuts, if we were to get Haksabanovic, if it was financially viable, by the way, all of these, Haksabanovic, Barkley, all in the door, and we offloaded Ajeti, McCarthy, Julian, would you be happy?
No, I'd be delighted, mate. As I say, I don't think the Barkley deal's going to happen. Just as the boys touched on financially, I don't think it's a goer, and I think there are English clubs interested in him.
On who? Sorry,
on Barkley.
All right.
The other two, listen. Even if the transfer window was to shut tonight, I'd be delighted. I think this is a squad that looks together, united, and are all aiming for the one destination, which is back to the top of the league, and we are top of the league and maintaining that and trying to do our best in Europe. But now that, like you say, when you see these rumours, then they seem to accelerate. I think of those three, I would say Haksabanovic is probably the most. It's got the most sort of potency to it so far. In terms of the players you mentioned going out, I kind of always more or less just regard them as gone anyway. I don't see, there would have to be some serious big. Stephen's saying it's looking close to agreeing a deal. So like we say, it's looking pretty good.
The captain, his knuckles, like I said in the comments earlier in the chat, his knuckles are chalk white because he's still holding on to their ends.
Oh, absolutely. I think, but I think
your phone yet?
No.
Really big
they're telling us to hurry up.
And
sorry, Anthony, what?
I'm saying that there would need to be some really bad for Ajeti to get back in the team, as is Julian as well. I think that Julian, there potentially was a space, but it all depends on if he brought in another centre half in the following week. Ange did. So, yeah, there's not really any way back for Julian as well. McCarthy, again, the addition of Mooy puts him further down the pecking order as well. And the only thing, maybe the homegrown thing might keep him around. But yeah, those three guys aren't going to feature much at all. But I still think there will be action coming in the way as well at Celtic.
Aye. I mean, if I don't want Julian to... It's not that I don't want him to go. I think Julian's a good player. I think he will go now at this point. So, if we got, say... I'm coming to you here, John. If we got, say, Ajeti out the door, Julian out the door, maybe Mikey Johnston on a loan, because Ange was in his presser today saying that he thinks Mikey Johnston's an unbelievable talent, but he needs games. He can't be offered that right now at Celtic. If we got they three out the door, maybe got Haksabanovic in. Again, I don't know.
This boy.
That's my guy. I don't know. But if we got they two in and maybe they three out, would you be quite happy going forward for the first half of the season up to January with what we have at that?
I agree exactly with what Anthony says. If you shut the window now, I'd be happy. I do think Ajeti needs to be offloaded. McCarthy needs to be offloaded. I think Mikey Johnston's time's up. I'd imagine that there's probably a couple of other guys that I can't think of right now as well that just are surplus to requirements. It looks like Julian's going to be that guy, as much as it pains me to say, because I do rate him. I still think he's a superb defender, and I still think he's got plenty to offer, regardless of what people are saying.
Jens is better, buddy.
I do like Jens.
Oh man, I love him. Absolutely love him.
He definitely looks up there, like. And listen. It remains to be seen what happens in terms of outgoings and incomings. But I fully agree, Anthony. I think that if you were to close the window now, we'd be all right. And then you'd see between now and then, obviously January coming up, if there was any additional areas that you needed to strengthen, and it gives them a few months for the team to sort of settle again. But I don't know what to say. But Stephen obviously put in there that another defensive midfielder has been linked to.
What was it, at Sanovic or something? Or Atanasov. Aye. I love that we're saying all these weird names.
I know.
For Stephen.
It's going to be great fun. Listen, it's the whole. It's a love-hate relationship with me with transfer rumours, because I like hearing the names coming up and finding out who these guys are. Any new signing is obviously a bit exciting, but at the same time, I believe absolutely he hoy it. So,
aye, I think we're all the same. We're all the same. Listen, I'm realising that we're up to an hour and 20 minutes now. I didn't think I'd get 40 minutes out of this when I was sort of making my notes last night, but we'll just move it on. We'll move it on to the weekend, the Hearts game. We'll come to yourself first, John. Just briefly how you think it's going to go, and then obviously what we always do, your scoring lineup predictions.
I think we are going to control the game as we usually do. I think we're going to score at least 4. I think there's a potential that we might concede 1 because Hearts have been known to get a goal against us. But I think we'll control the game. I think we're going to win. I think it'll be comfortable. So I'd say about 4-1, 5-1 would be a reasonable result for me.
You need to be exact. Come on, you need to be exact.
I'll go 4-1 then. 4-1. As for lineup, Hart and goal, Taylor on the left, Juranovic on the right. I think we'll start Jensen, Carter Vickers as a centre pairing. I think Jens has kind of proven. He scored 2 goals in 2 games for us, and he's been solid, and he's looking the part. And I know Starfelt's just back, and he got a goal, but Jens is on fire at the minute. You can't just take him off the boil. So I think he's likely going to start. Kalmak, I think we'll see. I don't think. I'd like to see if Hatate is fully fit and ready, then I can see Hatate starting. But I suspect that Ange, based on historically anyway, that Hatate might be on the bench. So I suspect it'll be Turnbull or Riley in front of Kalmak, and then Maeda, Kyogo, Jota as the front 3.
Right, no much wrong with that team, kid. That's in fact, just to save a bit of time, other than Turnbull, I've got Hatate in my team. Anthony, what about yourself?
Mine's the same as John's, mate. Same team that started last week. But now now that you've mentioned about the fact that that Hatate was potentially fit last week, the fact that it's at home, very big chance he could feature. But just for, if I'm having to pick some, I'll go with the team John picked, because that's what I had beforehand.
Aye.
And for score prediction, I think it could be. I think obviously they'll be feeling the effects of their efforts for last night. Not a bad result, to be fair to the Minis.
Good result.
It's all to play for at Mordor, mini Mordor in a couple of weeks' time, or next week whenever they play. But yeah, so I think we can take advantage of that and just go and stamp our authority in the game. And I'll go for I'll say 3. Say 3-0 Celtic.
3-0. I'm with you. So ordinarily, I think it'll be a tough game, but ordinarily I would say a bit of a tighter score. But I think Hearts will have one eye on that return leg at home next week, and I'm the same as John. I'm going to go 4-1, and as I alluded to, Hatate in the team instead of Turnbull, and then just the usual that's been so far this season. But that sort of brings the pod to an end. I'm going to, and the other guys, obviously Stephen and Wally, brought back the quiz the last couple of episodes. I'm going to steal one for Sky Bet that Anthony stole, and I'm going to steal it for Anthony. I'm going to bring the agree to disagree in the night. There's a wee controversial one to start. I don't know how it'll go down, but we'll go in. So
I actually got my glass here for putting it in each bit.
Just for MD that's not seen the agree to disagree, basically I'll make a statement, and then you'll either strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. So coming to you first, Anthony. Scott Brown was a better player than Barry Ferguson. Strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree? And why?
That's a real tough one. I'm going to say agree. But I would say maybe even purely on longevity. And maybe how he resurrected his career a couple of times. You know, we thought Scott Brown was pretty much finished by the time that Brendan came to the club, and then he totally rejuvenated himself. You know, but I think, but you can't take away anything that Barry Ferguson achieved in the game at Rangers. And he went down and he had a bad injury at Blackburn, if I remember correctly, so he didn't really get the chance to shine too much down there. But I think he would have made a more than decent stab at a career in England, for all that I don't like him. Especially the way he set his gang of Neds out to injure our players against Al when he was manager of Alloa. But I do think he does come away with some decent points on the wider game, and you know how developing youth and stuff when he's on the radio. You can't take away from his achievements on the pitch. You know, he's a treble winner at Rangers. He captained them. I'm trying to remember. He was still there when they got to Manchester, didn't he? I think he played in Manchester. So you can't take that away. But they're two different types of player. You know, it's apples and oranges. But purely, Bruni's a quadruple treble winning captain. So it's very hard. All I can say is when it comes to the wind up games, there's only one winner in that one.
Nobody better than Brown at that. Aye. John, same to yourself.
Yeah, I would say agree, but it might be closer than I think we think. I mean, I fucking hated Barry Ferguson, man. Didn't like
but
him
you can
at all.
appreciate how good he was.
Absolutely. He was a great player, and as much as I hate saying it, I mean, there's no denying it. But I think you can't overlook Bruni's longevity, the career he had, and the accolades that he's won either. And I think crunch time, Bruni was better.
Aye. Well, myself is going to get absolutely sin-dyed on this podcast because I disagree. I think, don't get me wrong, Scott Brown, what he done was absolutely tremendous. He was an unbelievable captain for Celtic, absolutely unbelievable. For me, Barry Ferguson, an unbelievable captain for Rangers. I hated him. That says all you need to know. If a Celtic supporter hates a Rangers player, you know the most part he's doing his job. For me, the way I look at it, Paul Lambert went to Borussia Dortmund and won the European Cup. If Barry Ferguson had been Paul Lambert at Motherwell at that point and went to Borussia Dortmund, he could have done the exact same. Right, Ross, get up. He could have done the exact same job as what Paul Lambert done for that season, and with the exact same Dortmund team, he would have won the European Cup with that Dortmund team as well, because he was up there with Paul Lambert. And for me, Scott Brown, tenacious, a leader, but technically nowhere near as good as Barry Ferguson. But that's just my opinion. We're going to be a vote. I'm going to get voted off the podcast. We'll have a new member next week. But hey ho. We'll move on to the next one. Interesting points here. This is actually really good. This agree to disagree. I think it was a good suggestion. But the next one, I'll come to you first this time, John. Gary Hooper would have scored more goals than Henrik Larsson had he stayed for 7 seasons.
That is a tough one as well.
Well, give you a couple of stats to maybe help you out with it.
No, because I'm well aware that Hooper was on fire, and like I said, if you gave him a full 7 years and he maintained that level, then I think it's. But whether or not he would maintain that level is another question. I think though, I'll disagree. I liked Hooper. I loved Hooper even, and like I said, it was a machine in terms of scoring goals for us. But I think that record would just be out his reach. I don't think he'd be able to maintain that for 7 years. And for that reason alone, I'm saying no. I disagree.
That's fine. And aye, very fair points. What about yourself, Anthony?
Funny enough, in pure goal scoring terms, I could possibly agree that he possibly could have eclipsed it. What the absolute difference is the all round game that Henrik had. Henrik wasn't just a goal scoring machine; he was an unbelievable football player as well, and he was, he was loved by and respected by the top players in the world. They all knew how good he was. So even if Hooper did break his record, I don't think he would be held in the same esteem, if that makes sense. But if you were to just put it purely down on goal scorer, that just scoring goals, there's every chance he could have.
So to sum up, did you disagree there?
No, I'm agreeing with the fact that if Hooper had stayed 7 years, he could have ended up scoring more goals than Henrik.
I see you. Right.
So
I think people don't get it mistaken. We're not saying that Hooper was a better player than Larsson, as Tony alluded to. Absolutely not. In fact, not even close. But in terms of goals scored, if he'd have maintained what he was doing for 7 seasons, then but I don't think that would have happened. Which is why
for me, I've always, for a while now, been the opinion that if Gary Hooper had stayed for 7 years, he would have outscored Henrik. But I had a look at their goals to games ratio, and I'm not a numbers guy. I tried to work out the averages, and I came up with that Gary Hooper would probably, if you go by averages, he would come up just short of that in the 7 years. He might have been above average for the years, or he might have been below average. For me, I've always said he would have, but just going with actually sitting and thinking about it and having numbers in front of me, I'm going to have to disagree that he would have outscored the King. But it would have been a hell of a close. Finally, one more. I'll come to you, Anthony. Mm-hmm. And I thought I would bring this one in because it's quite current. It's quite... and I'm really interested and I'm buzzing for it, and I really hope it goes the way I want. But Anthony Joshua will knock out Alexander Usyk tomorrow night.
Disagree.
You disagree?
I don't think he'll knock him out. I think there probably will be some way that he'll win it on TKO or something. I'm very suspicious of boxing, and I think now it's not necessary. I think there's lots of... I'm not saying everything's fixed by any means, but I think there's gentlemen's agreements in place, shall we say. I don't think he might well win because it then sets up another bout, or it makes Joshua come. It makes him have all the belts, and then that sets up the fight with Fury and all that. I think all of these things are negotiated. So I'm not the biggest boxing fan in the world. I think they'll probably find a way of making Joshua win. But
really, do you think it'll be set up?
I think a lot of these things are. I'm not. I think it's. I think boxing is a bit like athletics now. I think there's so much. Even when you're seeing greatness, there's been so many tales now of fights being flung, or trainers being threatened. I'm talking maybe at the lower levels, but it still happens the further up you go. And I think now it's all about making money rather than who can be the best.
That's exactly why it's been staged in the Saudi.
Yeah, it's a fair point as well, John. So I think Usyk versus Fury makes money. Joshua versus Fury probably makes more because it's the two, the British fighters and all the belts at hand. It's a boxing promoter's wet dream. So,
but they'd have to pay Usyk a hell of a money to throw that fight to allow Fury and Joshua to fight. You've went into the Barry Ferguson realms there, kid.
I just think, put it this way: if Joshua, if he was to knock him out tomorrow, I would be shocked. If Joshua was to win tomorrow night, I wouldn't be shocked. But I don't necessarily think it would be for all the. I don't think it would necessarily be legit. Because I think, sadly, boxing isn't at the moment. There's lots of boxing that isn't.
Aye. Right, John, what about yourself?
In terms of him knocking him out, I would disagree. I mean, I believe that Anthony Joshua definitely has the ability to knock him out. He's definitely got the power to knock him out. And anybody questioning that doesn't watch boxing and hasn't ever seen Anthony Joshua fight. But Usyk's he's a tough guy. He's no lost yet. He can take a punch. He's shown that numerous times, and he is in his own right a superb boxer. I think Stephen hasn't got a fucking clue what he's talking about by saying Joshua is not a great boxer, because if you actually watch Joshua's boxing ability, he technically is very, very sound.
He's not as great as some, but he is still a great boxer.
I'm not saying he's the greatest boxer ever, but he's a good boxer. There's a lot of questions surrounding his chin, and Usyk might be able to take advantage of that. He clocked him a couple of times in the last fight. But I don't think he's going to knock him out. But do I think that Joshua's got the ability to win the long game? Absolutely. Stephen's last comment there as well, like, what was it he said? Ruiz made, where is it? Joshua look easy. And then what happened in the second fight, Stephen? Joshua completely bossed him, outboxed him, and just in single round.
In the first fight, he didn't. I don't think he made him look easy. He caught him one, and Joshua never recovered. But he was never going to outbox Joshua.
No, and listen, for large portions of that fight as well, Joshua was in control, but he got caught flush, and he leaves himself too open sometimes. And Ruiz took full advantage of that and punished him, and rightly so. I mean, like if a boxer like that's leaving himself open, then, and especially in the heavyweight division, you can't do that. But if Joshua boxes and it might not be entertaining to watch, because you want to see a slugfest, but if he boxes, then it could be a very close fight.
Aye, well, for me, I'm hoping beyond hope, so I'm going to say I agree that he'll knock him out, because I absolutely love Anthony Joshua. I've followed his career on the road. I think he's got a puncher's chance for me. If he gets that ruthless streak back that he had in his early fights when he turned professional, then it's possible. And it's almost his career is riding on this tomorrow night. I think he has to go for the knockout. Because for me, I watched the first fight. I didn't see him outboxing Usyk. I really don't see it. I think Joshua, off the back of the first fight, he knows that now, that he probably won't outbox him. I think he has to push him back with his jab, and then I'll open him up, and like a quick couple of two jabs really quick, and open him up, and then just really be ruthless and go for it at any time it opens up, because he has to take him out. And I think if he can do that, he can take him out inside 6. But I mean, all that said, Usyk is a class boxer, and like you've alluded to, John, he's got a chin on him. He's proved that he can take a punch. It's up in the air. It's a close fight. The only thing that annoys me is I want to hate Usyk, but I don't. And it makes it's a really appealing fight, but it makes it less appealing than what a Fury Joshua would be, because I absolutely despise Fury. I would love Joshua to take his head clean off. But anyway, so to sum up, I agree. He'll knock him out tomorrow night, please. But anyway, that brings us to the end of the podcast. Have you enjoyed it, boys?
Oh, absolutely, mate. We've put the world to rights. We've done Angie's tactics. We've discussed economics and football, and I've claimed that boxing's just WWE these days. So yeah, it's been all in all, it's been a decent show. What
about yourself, John?
I've enjoyed it as well. I very rarely get the opportunity to come on a Friday, so it's good to be able to come on at the weekend and enjoy a wee drink. But it's been a bloody. Sorry. I've loved the discussion. It's been really good.
Aye, it's been really good. I've enjoyed listening to you talk about the Sky deal and that as well. Went on a wee bit longer than I thought, but But so did the whole podcast. An hour and 40 minutes with it.
I know,
Apologies for
and can I
that.
just listen? We've actually maintained for the course of this in excess of 50 viewers the entire hour 40 minutes. So I just want to thank everybody that sticks with us and
Feels
continues
great.
to put up with us. Listen, it's amazing that you guys are still here, and we appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who gets involved in the chat. Thanks to everybody who's subscribed and become a member at the Endless Celts for 99p a month. Means the world to us. It's only a small amount of money, but it adds up over time, and it allows us to sort of improve the product we're putting out. Like get Anthony a proper webcam and stuff like that. New curtains. And mind keep on top of it. Get involved in the Super Six thing. Ross has put time in to set that up. We're going to discuss it every Monday, and we'll try and get a wee prize sorted for the winner at the end of the season as well. So keep on top of that. Get yourself involved if you've not signed up yet, because it's still very early days. You've still got every chance, especially if you're really, really good at it, getting on and putting yourself back at the top of leaderboards. But I just wanted to say thanks to everybody.
Aye. And again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. But I've really enjoyed hosting the night. Had a good night. I've nearly done a bowl of Prosecco. Thanks to everybody for watching, commenting. MD that's a member or a new member, thanks very much. And good luck on Sunday to Angie's boys. Good luck to Big AJ the morning night. And we'll see you all on Monday. Ta-ta.